All right, guys, Coach Sellers here. Gonna get this PowerPoint up and going. All right, so we're talking about sexual harassment. So, what exactly is sexual harassment? Law defines sexual harassment as any unwanted or unwelcome behavior of sexual nature that makes you feel uncomfortable, fearful, or powerless and interferes with your schoolwork or really your overall life. Sexual harassment can happen to anybody. What does unwelcome mean? Think about that for a second. According to the U.S. Department of Education, conduct of sexual nature is unwelcome when the student being harassed did not request or invite the conduct and regarded it as offensive or undesirable. Some examples of sexual harassment could be comments about a person's body, sexual gestures, like reaching towards someone's private parts, sexual or dirty jokes about somebody's body or doing something to them, sexual touching, so actually trying to visibly grab somebody's private parts, sexual suggestions or advances, showing offensive sexual pictures, stories, or objects. So it's really important that you don't send things to people that you don't want to be seen by others. It could end up somewhere where you don't want it to be. So some other examples might be sexual graffiti, which could be just paint on a wall. I'm sure you guys, you're in middle school, you've probably seen some very graphic things on some walls if you've walked around any city somewhere. Spreading rumors about another student's sexual behavior, that could be lies, and it could really affect somebody's personal life. Talking about one's own sexual activities in front of others is also a way of sexual harassment. Touching oneself in a sexual manner in front of others is a other type of sexual harassment that probably doesn't get talked about enough. Some people do this with some people knowing and without knowing. It's kind of disturbing. Also, name calling could be a possible sexual nature. So, is there a difference between flirting or sexual harassment? Here's a story that we'll look at here. Miguel loves to mess with the girls. He was always doing something to Alana and Naomi. He would pick at them in the halls by grabbing things out of their lockers during class change. He would also bump into them gently in the hall or punch them and run. At first, the girls didn't mind and thought some things he did were funny. Since Alana and Naomi always laughed at Miguel, he started trying to hug them and even popped Naomi's bra one day in the hall. So think about that. That's not flirting. That is sexual harassment, which he demonstrated a couple of the things we talked about earlier. So what should you do? Don't ignore it. It's a big deal. Don't let somebody tell you it's not a big deal. Tell the person you do not like their behavior and ask them to stop. That's a harder thing to do than some people really understand. If you feel you can't tell them directly, write them a note. Put something on paper. Sometimes thoughts won't come out of your mouth as easy as they will out on a piece of paper or through a text message. You need to tell your parents or guardians and tell a teacher, counselor, or administrator at the school. Or in my case, you can tell me as your coach. Always talk to someone you trust about how you're feeling. Friends, parents, or guardians, siblings, a trusted teacher, counselor, or administrator can be helpful and provide the support you need. It's not a thing we should try to do on our own. Tell your teacher, counselor, or principal that you are being sexually harassed. If you're not comfortable doing this, your parents or guardians can do this. The school has a legal responsibility to respond to sexual harassment of its students. So if anything was to ever be said in the form of sexual harassment between a student or a teacher, it would have to be reported. So there's some things to think about, guys, in regards to sexual harassment. I hope this kind of gave you some insight about the possibilities of it going on, whether you knew it was before or not. And I hope this is able to help you take your quiz. but really to understand these going forward in your lives. Please message me if you need anything, and good luck on your quiz.